Welcome to the King in the North, an epic summer adventure to the northernmost airport in the world. But I'm kicking things off with a flight to Spain on Iberia. Finding award availability to Europe over July 4th can be a real challenge, but Iberia Business Class is one of the most reliable and cheapest awards out there. But honestly, that will be a common thread in this review of Iberia Business Class. Cheap. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the flight, recommend it. And don't immediately think that cheap things are bad, but you need to temper your expectations. What do I mean? Let's find out on this trip from Chicago to Madrid on the Airbus A330-300. The East Coast and Chicago to Madrid on Iberia is one of the better known award sweet spots out there. From Chicago to Madrid is 42,500 avios off-peak and 50,000 peak. That's a great deal. Combine that with frequent transfer bonuses of 30, 40, or even 50%, and it can be an absolute steal. I ended up booking through British Airways rather than Iberia because I found the availability and didn't want to risk relying on Iberia's IT, which is terrible. I paid 50,000 avios and $120 in taxes and fees. British Airways wouldn't let me select my seats ahead of time, just like on their own business class. I assumed that Iberia, owned by the same parent company, was the same, but I was actually able to select seats for free on Iberia's site. British Airways take notes, rather than charging me £120. That's right, you thought I was done criticizing British Airways.
Yeah, not really.
Even though Iberia is a full Oneworld member, part of the transatlantic joint venture, resides in a major European country, etc., they don't participate in TSA PreCheck. I gave Fiji Airways some criticism for that, but well, that's Fiji. Iberia? Come on! The reason is that they didn't want to pay to make the necessary upgrades to their IT system. That's the first time Iberia will cheap out. It won't be the last. Iberia flies the A330-200, 300, and the A350 long haul. At the time of this review, they all have the same business class seats everywhere. They have a new business class in the works for future A350 deliveries with a door, but that wasn't an option. Chicago sometimes gets the A350, but mostly gets the A330-300 in the summer. After slumming it through general security, I made my way to the Admiral's Flagship Lounge, American Airlines' premium long-haul business class lounge, located on a separate floor from the Admiral's Club. I was last here all the way back in my Cathay Pacific review in 2019. It remains pretty great. I was offered champagne upon entering the lounge. There's a large buffet with fairly decent food. There's self-serve alcohol and a Coke Freestyle machine. There's a Bloody Mary bar, a dessert area, and great views of the apron and runway. I even saw my flight land from Madrid. Is it as nice as a United Polaris lounge? No, because there's no dine on demand. But still, it's pretty nice, and you should go if you have access. An hour before departure, I made my way to the gate. My heart skipped a beat when I saw that it was final boarding at the gate, but the plane wasn't even there. Iberia's IT people, ladies and gentlemen, please take a bow. The plane was still parked at Terminal 5, the international terminal, and then got stuck in traffic on the way over. If only international arrivals could take place at the same terminal as departures, you know, like a normal airport. Anyway, the plane finally arrived, but they definitely struggled attaching the jet bridge. They called Zone 1, everyone lined up, but we just stood there for quite a while. I boarded and headed towards my seat. Iberia's business class is in a staggered 1-2-1, with odds closest to the aisle and evens closest to the window. Of course, you should get an even seat. But by the time I realized I could select seats, they were all gone, so I ended up in 3J, an aisle seat. The seat has a large storage area, seat controls, remote, AC and USB power. The tray is latched and easily swings down. There are no individual air vents, and the cabin was very hot. We were offered water or orange juice. No alcohol. Another passenger asked for it, and the flight attendant said that, quotes, it was against the law. Well, yes, because Iberia didn't bother to pay for a liquor license. Again, Iberia cheaps out. And they don't even have the excuse of Sharia law like we saw with Etihad in the Maldives. The business class cabin was completely full. The amenity kit was rather drab like the rest of the cabin, but it had the basics, a comb, and the eye shades nearly rivaled my favorite ones from Turkish. The headphones? Yeah, no. Cheap as hell and uncomfortable. The wine list had cava, 2 whites, 3 reds, and 2 dessert wines. All were Spanish, of course. For reference, the cava retails in the US at $14 a bottle. There was a choice of 3 mains, beef, cod, and gnocchi. The safety video started out very drab and boring. Then it got weird. Then it got a bit more exciting. Both of the English and Spanish were clearly being lip-synced, and it looked rather amateurish.
Ajusten siempre su máscara de oxígeno antes de colocársela a niños u otras personas que lo puedan necesitar.
In the event of loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will drop from the compartment above your seats.
We ended taking off an hour late. Chicago was blanketed with smoke from the Canadian wildfires, and we took off towards the north in the haze. There had been no announcements from the captain about flying time or altitude. Flying time was 7 hours and 35 minutes at 37,000 feet. Wi-Fi isn't free, but there is free texting for business class and Iberia Club members. Messages were very sluggish going through. And given how slow/non-functional the Iberia web portal was, I'm guessing the paid Wi-Fi isn't great. The in-flight entertainment was good, though a bit hard to use by touch. If you needed help sleeping, they had Ant-Man Quantumania. The moving map was completely uncustomizable and fixed. Service began very slowly. We were given a hot towel that wasn't particularly hot, but it was served on a tray. Next came beverage service and meal orders. I was greeted by the purser by name individually who took my order. That was a nice touch. I began with cava, olives, cheese, and crackers. The appetizer I ordered was Cajun chicken and beets, which was pretty good and paired well with a glass of Chardonnay. I ordered the cod. It and the shrimp were pretty good, all things considered. The spinach was a bit overcooked, but still, the dinner on Iberia wasn't bad. I ended with a panna cotta for dessert that was also pretty good. Even though it was very early US time, I tried to get as much sleep as I could. Iberia's bedding is decent, with a mattress pad, comfortable pillow, and light blanket. It's far from the best bedding out there, but was good. I managed to sleep for 5 hours, after which the lights were abruptly turned on an hour and 22 minutes prior to landing. I did feel the lack of privacy in the aisle, and I was awoken multiple times when people ran into me. For breakfast, there was a choice of an omelette or French toast. I went for the French toast and declined any more bread. It was served with a berry sauce. It was rather dried out and not particularly good, but that's the case with many business class breakfasts. We made landfall near Santiago de Compostela and approached Madrid. Before landing, there's one more thing to criticize: the changes to Iberia's loyalty program. Iberia was the first of the IAG airlines to move to a revenue-based earning model, mimicking many of the US airlines. Yes, British Airways has also followed suit. But except for a few edge cases, that means fewer miles earned for your everyday flyer, which is bad. Again, Iberia being cheap. Through the morning haze, we touched down in Madrid, Barajas. Barajas is one of my least favorite airports out there because of the crazy distances. You need to take a moving walkway for an eternity, then a train, then yet more escalators to get anywhere near the exit. So Iberia business class. It's absolutely fine. The food was mostly good, the crew friendly, and I got a fairly good night's sleep to hit the ground running in Madrid. This isn't sort of any aspirational business class product, the kind that you post about on Instagram. Okay, that's not fair, I also posted about Ryanair too. But to be perfectly blunt, what more do you want out of a transatlantic business class flight? Lie flat bed, decent bedding, and a meal. And Iberia delivers on that. So it may be cheap, not sexy, and not exciting. But you should definitely consider it for flights to Europe, if it's available. Normally now I'd tease you the next flight review in the series, but since I'm kicking off an entirely new series, here's a taste of what's to come.